So Monday night, we got a rare Monday night football game in Durham, North Carolina. The Duke Blue Devils played host to the number 9 team in the nation at the time, of course, the Clemson Tigers. And you want to talk about one of the more surprising results that we've seen in college football weekend? Duke not only winning this game, but Duke wins this game surprisingly convincingly. 28-7 ends up being your final score. Now, it's not that Duke didn't have any sort of hype building into this season. I believe that they were a team that was receiving some sort of AP top 25 votes in week number 1. But no, they were not ranked at the top 25 for a reason, right? Clemson, the question was, can Clemson under Cade Klubnik, can they get back to the college football playoff? And that's in very much danger right now. So I do want to say this first and foremost. We talked about the possibility the last time that we were on here, the possibility of Duke pulling this upset off. However, what I thought was going to happen was it was going to be one of those games where it could have been close for the majority of it, but in the second half, Clemson could pull away and eventually cover that 12.5 point spread that they were projected to win by, according to Vegas. And not so I say this because I don't think it's a fluke necessarily that Duke won this game. And hats off to the Duke Blue Devils. Coach Mike Echo coached one heck of a game. He got his guys ready, and they played with a lot of heart. I do think it's a fluke that Duke blew out Clemson. So if you break down Clemson's red zone opportunities, they ended up going, at least from my recollection, they went 1 for 5 on red zone opportunities, okay? So Clemson did get a touchdown in one of red zone opportunities. I do want to point out that is off of a muffed punt. That was how Clemson was set up for their first and only touchdown of the game. But they were in the red zone 4 more times, okay? So 4 more times Clemson was in the red zone. Here's how those red zone opportunities went. They missed a field goal. They had another field goal that happened to be blocked. And then they fumbled the ball twice on 2 separate possessions inside the 5-yard line. So when you have that many miscues, particularly in the red zone, it makes it really difficult to win any kind of football games. Obviously, Clemson scoring 7 points, you're not going to win a lot of games scoring just 7 points in today's college football landscape. It just can't happen. Now, and this was even with Clemson, they were doing a beautiful job moving the ball down the field in between the 20s. So outside of the red zone, Clemson was very effective in moving the football. They outgained the Duke Blue Devils ultimately 422 to 374. So Clemson had the advantage in terms of total yards. They also had the advantage in terms of time of possession. They won the time of possession pretty convincingly. Clemson nearly having the ball for 34 minutes in this game. Duke only had it for 26 minutes. So Clemson was wearing down the Duke defense. And I mean, Clemson was able to get big plays. It's just they couldn't capitalize off of those big plays necessarily. And it makes you really bang the question, was it DJU's fault that things didn't work out at Clemson, or was it primarily the offense's fault? I know DJU got a lot of criticism in the previous college football season, and Cade Klubnik stepped in, and the writing was on the wall. DJU transferred to Oregon State because of that. But now people are starting to wonder if the Clemson offensive scheme is more of the problem than DJU himself. Now, DJU is not a perfect quarterback, but it is a valid question. So that's something to look after as the season progresses. Now, thankfully, Clemson does have a get-right game on their schedule moving forward. Next week, they do play against FCS Charleston Southern, and then they play against Florida Atlantic the following week. Those are 2 games that Clemson should still be able to win. But then September 23rd is a thing, okay? September 23rd, they play Florida State, and they just blew the brakes off of LSU in a neutral site game. So these offensive issues that Clemson is having right now, they really need to get it together because, oh boy, if the offense is still struggling going into that Florida State game, you thought the Florida State LSU game was a little bit of a bloodbath in the second half. Oh boy, this could get ugly. Not saying that Clemson is definitively going to lose ugly against Florida State. I'm not going to do that 3 weeks from now. But if they don't get it together, it could happen. It is a realistic possibility now. Meanwhile, for the Duke Blue Devils, this win, you're feeling great about this win. Riley Leonard just seemed like a guy that, you know, his stats weren't the prettiest passing the ball, right? 17 for 33, 175 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It's not the prettiest stat line. I think we can all agree on that. But Clemson, it's not like Clemson's pass rush was not able to get to Riley Leonard. Leonard just did a good job of evading the pressure and making decent reads. He didn't turn the ball over, at least on the aspect of of fumbling the ball. There was no fumbles lost by Riley Leonard, at least not to my knowledge. He did, however, was a game changer. I saw his comparison made live in the broadcast, but there was some comparisons to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was also a guy that was not very much hyped up until the season that he did end up getting drafted into the NFL. A little bit of Riley Leonard in a guy that maybe is a little bit raw as a passer, but certainly is athletic and knows how to make plays with his legs. He nearly had 100 yards rushing in this game, including a big rushing touchdown as well. And the thing with the Duke Blue Devils, to go with that too, is Duke, their schedule is set up pretty nicely for the rest of the month. They'll take on FCS Lafayette. That should be a win. They also host Northwestern, and Northwestern's a little bit of a mess. Then they go on the road. Their first road game is against UConn, and they should be favored in that UConn game as well. So they could go 4-0 before we see them play against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Could be a huge showdown there. One of the biggest games in Duke Blue Devil history for their football program, of course, if they handle business for the rest of the month over the course of these next few weeks. One team certainly moving in the right direction. Clemson going in the wrong direction, but correctable issues. Fluky way for Clemson to lose big, but they have to play better on offense, get better with that offensive execution. If not, it could be a longer season than anticipated. Their college football playoff chances are already on life alert. They're already on life support right now. But at this point, you can't worry about that. You just got to think of the next game in front of you and try to go 1-0 in that next game. We'll see if Clemson can rebound, and this could be just a wake-up call for the Clemson Tigers, or if it's a downward spiral moment that sees them perform well below expectations.